Here's a number that should disturb you. According to DALBAR's annual quantitative analysis of investor behavior, a study that has tracked real investor returns versus market returns for over 3 decades, the average equity investor earned just 3.6% annually over a 20-year period where the S&P 500 returned 9.5% annually. Same market, drastically different results. The gap isn't intelligence, it isn't access. It's emotion. The Stoics called this separation between circumstance and response apatheia, not apathy in the modern sense, but a total refusal to allow external events to dictate your internal state. Marcus Aurelius, Emperor of Rome, one of the wealthiest and most powerful men alive in the 2nd century, wrote, "You have power over your mind, not outside events. Realize this and you will find strength." He wasn't speaking abstractly. He was writing a manual for himself, a ruler managing wars, plagues, and economic crisis simultaneously. Warren Buffett, arguably the greatest investor alive, has spoken repeatedly about what separates him from ordinary investors. It isn't his spreadsheets. It's his capacity to watch his portfolio drop by 50% and feel nothing that compels action. During the 2008 financial crisis, while panic selling wiped out ordinary investors by the millions, Buffett was buying. Goldman Sachs, General Electric. He deployed $5 billion into the bleeding market in a single week. He called it being greedy when others are fearful. But that only works if you've severed the emotional wire that links your identity to your net worth. The practical application here is simple but brutal. Every time you make a financial decision, an investment, a purchase, a negotiation, ask yourself, is this logic or is this emotion dressed up as logic? Fear sounds like I can't afford to lose this. Greed sounds like I can't afford to miss this. Both are the same hijack. Build the wall, make the decision from behind it. The financially untouchable do not react, they calculate. In 1870, John D. Rockefeller began quietly buying up small oil refineries across Cleveland, Ohio. He didn't announce his strategy. He didn't hold press conferences. He approached owners individually in private and offered them a simple choice: sell now at a fair price, or watch Standard Oil undercut them into bankruptcy. 22 of 26 refineries sold within 90 days. Rockefeller had eliminated his competition not through warfare, but through strategic silence and calculated action. His competitors never saw it coming because he never told them it was coming. The Stoics understood this principle at its core. Epictetus, born a slave who rose to become one of the most influential philosophers in history, taught that broadcasting your intentions is the fastest way to invite interference. "Never say about anything I have lost it," he wrote, "only I have returned it." Everything you own is temporarily yours, and drawing attention to it invites people to hasten the return. There's modern research backing this up. A 2011 study published in Psychological Science by NYU researcher Peter Galwitzer found that people who announced their goals publicly were significantly less likely to achieve them, because the social recognition of the announcement gave their brain a premature hit of completion. The work was never done, but the brain felt like it was. The same principle operates in reverse with wealth. When you announce your financial progress, you give away 2 things simultaneously: your position and your psychology. Competitors know where you are. Manipulators know what motivates you. The dark application of this law: never discuss your salary, your savings, your investments, or your strategies, not with colleagues, not with most family members, not on social media. The financially untouchable move quietly. They let their results speak years after the work is done. Silence isn't weakness. In the financial arena, silence is the most aggressive weapon available to you. In 1997, Steve Jobs returned to Apple, a company he had been humiliated and fired from 12 years earlier. The company was 90 days from bankruptcy. Most people in his position would have let resentment drive the decisions. Instead, Jobs did something psychologically extraordinary. He publicly embraced the loss. He acknowledged that being fired from Apple had been the best thing that ever happened to him because it freed him to build Pixar and NXT experiences that turned him into the leader Apple actually needed. He didn't just survive the failure, he weaponized it. This is Nietzsche's concept of amor fati, love of fate, filtered directly through the Stoic tradition. Marcus Aurelius practiced it explicitly. Accept the things to which fate binds you, not tolerate, not endure. Accept meaning integrate, learn from, and use. The financially untouchable person treats every loss the same way a scientist treats a failed experiment, not as proof of inadequacy, but as data, as feedback, as information the market is giving you for free. Daniel Kahneman's Nobel Prize-winning research on loss aversion proves that humans feel the pain of losing money roughly twice as intensely as they feel the pleasure of gaining the same amount. That asymmetry is biological. It is a feature of the primitive brain that was useful on the savannah and catastrophic in a portfolio. The Stoic practice of premeditatio malorum, negative visualization, was designed to surgically blunt this response. When you have already mentally rehearsed the loss before it happens, the psychological impact on arrival is dramatically reduced. Here's the practice. Before any major financial commitment, sit with the worst-case scenario. Not briefly, fully. Imagine you lost everything you're about to invest. Feel it, process it, make peace with it, then decide. If you can make peace with the worst case, you can execute with precision. If you can't, you're not ready. Losses don't make you financially vulnerable. Your reaction to losses does. In 1979, a 25-year-old named Paul Orfalia was running a single copy shop in a converted hamburger stand near UC Santa Barbara. He had no real estate, no corporate backing. And deliberately, almost aggressively, he kept his personal expenses at near zero. He lived in a converted van. He reinvested every dollar. Within 20 years, that single copy shop became Kinko's, a $1.2 billion enterprise he eventually sold to FedEx. When asked about his edge, Orfalia pointed not to strategy or timing, but to freedom. Because he needed so little personally, he could make bold business moves that competitors too comfortable in their lifestyles could never risk. Epictetus built his entire philosophy on this law. Born into slavery, meaning he owned literally nothing, he taught that the only path to freedom, financial or otherwise, was radical reduction of desire. Seek not that the things which happen should happen as you wish, but wish the things which happen to be as they are, and you will have a tranquil flow of life. This isn't passive resignation. It's leverage engineering. When you genuinely need less, you negotiate from a position of power that money alone cannot buy. The modern data on this is striking. Research on financial vulnerability consistently shows that the most economically fragile households aren't the lowest earners. They're households where spending has been calibrated to income, leaving zero margin. A six-figure earner living at six-figure expenses is not wealthy. They are trapped. One missed paycheck from collapse. Compare this to someone earning half as much who has systematically decoupled their identity from their lifestyle. They are structurally untouchable. The dark psychological edge here. When you don't need the deal, the raise, the client, or the investment to survive, your posture in every negotiation changes. People can feel desperation. They can smell need, and they price it accordingly. The Stoic who needs nothing commands terms. The person who needs everything accepts them. In the 1980s, Intel CEO Andy Grove was watching his core business, memory chips, being systematically destroyed by cheaper Japanese competition. The company was losing money. Grove walked into his partner Gordon Moore's office and asked a single question. If we got kicked out and the board brought in a new CEO, what would they do? Moore answered immediately. Get out of memory chips. Grove stood up, walked out, and came back in. I just did that, he said. They pivoted to microprocessors. That decision turned Intel into a $100 billion company. Grove later codified this in his book, calling it the 10x force, identifying threats when they are still small. But the practice itself is ancient. The Stoics called it premeditatio malorum, the premeditation of evils. Seneca practiced it daily. Every morning, he would mentally rehearse what could go wrong that day, financially, physically, socially, and prepare his response in advance. Not to create anxiety, to eliminate it. Let us prepare our minds as if we had come to the very end of life, he wrote. Let us postpone nothing. The financial application of this law is what modern strategists call a pre-mortem. Before you start a business, make an investment, sign a contract, or take on a partner, imagine you are 12 months in the future and everything has gone catastrophically wrong. Now work backwards. What killed it? Bad cash flow? A single key customer? An undisclosed liability, a partner whose incentives were misaligned with yours. Identifying those failure modes in advance costs you nothing. Discovering them after the fact can cost you everything. The financially untouchable are not optimists or pessimists. They are realists with a bias toward preparation. They do not hope for the best and plan for it. They expect complexity, stress test their positions, and move into uncertainty with their defenses already built. The map of threats isn't paranoia. It's the price of financial sovereignty. In 2004, a 26-year-old cancer patient named Randy Pausch was told he had a potentially terminal illness. He went on to live another 4 years, and in that time he published a book, delivered one of the most watched lectures in academic history, and spent more concentrated time building real financial and personal legacy than most people manage in a full lifetime. After his death, his estate and the proceeds from his work funded educational initiatives and supported his family for years. He did in 4 years what most people fail to do in 40. Why? Because he knew, concretely and undeniably, that time was finite. Memento mori, remember you will die. was not morbid decoration in Stoic philosophy. It was a performance-enhancing practice. Roman generals returning from victory parades had a slave walking behind them whose sole job was to whisper in their ear, "Memento mori," remember you are mortal, not to deflate the victory, to keep the general present, focused, and strategically urgent. Pride and complacency were the real enemies of power. Death awareness was the antidote. The financial parallel is direct. Most people defer wealth building the same way they defer everything else. I'll start next year. I'll get serious after the holidays. I'll invest when I have more. This is the illusion of infinite time operating in your financial psychology, and it is the single most expensive cognitive error most people make in their lives. Compound interest is a mathematical fact, but it requires the most irreplaceable resource you have, time. Every year you delay is not just a year lost. It is exponential growth you will never recover. Here is the practice. Sit with the fact that you have a fixed number of financial prime years. Roughly 20 to 60 are your maximum earning, investing, and compounding decades. You cannot expand that window. You can only use it more completely. Memento mori applied to money isn't dark. It is clarifying. The person who knows time is finite does not waste it. They do not delay, they move. And that urgency, compounded over decades, creates wealth that is genuinely untouchable. CTA, 30 seconds. If this hit different from what you usually hear, that's because it is different. These aren't tips, they're laws, and the channel exists to keep going deeper. If you want the dark, the real, and the uncomfortably useful, subscribe. Every video we put out is built to do what this one just did. The algorithm won't always show you what you need. Subscribing will. Do it now while the idea is still sharp. Outro 30-45 seconds, 6 laws, 1 through 6, none of them will work unless you actually use them, not read them, not share them, use them. This week, pick one, just one. The iron wall, the silence, the amor fati, the void, the pre-mortem, the memento mori. Apply it to one financial decision, one conversation, one habit. The Stoics didn't build empires by mastering all of it at once. They built them by taking one principle and refusing to let it go. You are not one decision away from being rich. You are one law away from being untouchable. Start today. SEOTAGS. Stoicism, dark psychology, financially untouchable, Stoic mindset, wealth mindset, dark Stoic laws, Sigma mindset, Stoic habits, dark philosophy, how to build wealth, emotional discipline, money mindset, Marcus Aurelius, Stoic wisdom, Stoic motivation description. Most people will never build real wealth, not because they lack money, but because they lack the laws that protect it. In this video, we break down 6 dark Stoic laws used by Roman emperors, ruthless strategists, and self-made billionaires to become financially untouchable. These aren't surface-level tips. This is the raw, psychological framework of Stoicism applied to money, power, and survival. From Marcus Aurelius and Epictetus to Warren Buffett and Steve Jobs, the evidence is everywhere. You just haven't been shown how to use it. Whether you're into Stoic habits, dark psychology, wealth mindset, Sigma behavior, or simply want to stop being financially vulnerable, this video is your blueprint. Watch until Law 4. It will change how you think about money permanently. Subscribe for more dark Stoic wisdom every week.